And we can create this environment around us that is like a bubble of love. We can become a bubble of love and bop around our world, living in that heart space, living where, like we had what I was saying earlier with those rose-colored glasses.
This is the Entrepology Podcast, the podcast where we optimize the bodies, brains, and lifestyles of entrepreneurs, go-getters, and world-changing innovators.
Welcome to the Entrepology Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Megan Walker. As an anthropologist and naturopathic doctor, I optimize the health and performance of badass women working to change the world as entrepreneurs and go-getters. You know, people exactly like you. Your business, body, balance, and inner badass, these are the themes that we are exploring. Before we jump into the interview, I want to invite you to join our free Facebook community, Legacy. If you want to be something amazing, you need to surround yourself with amazing people. The Legacy community is made up of badass women living, not leaving, but living our legacy every single day. We are leaders, parents, entrepreneurs, and innovators collectively committed to leaving the world better than we found it. My mission is to support the health and optimization of these badass superheroes, literally to places we never thought imaginable. If you are on a mission and get it that your health is the key to your unlimited potential, then join us. We are super awesome. You can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/groups/BE Legacy. See you there. In the spirit of badass, I have invited my first guest. Well, not my very first guest, but the first time I have re-invited a guest onto the podcast. I'm really excited to sit down again with my very dear and old friend, Jen Oliver. Jen is someone I went to high school with. We played basketball together in high school. She played. I watched her. She's amazing. Her energy is compelling. Her attitude is positive and has always been positive. And she is the founder of Love FitMama and the author of the new book, The Love FitMama Way. Jen's mission in life is to empower women, postpartum women in particular, to find themselves and their inner strength, how to harness a mindset that brings you abundance, how to discover play every single day, and how to create this coherence and energy with respect to your heart and your capacity to love and its implications on your health. This is big. The interview was amazing. We spent time talking about the physiological implications of our attitude, our mindset, our capacity to actually control the electromagnetic field around our heart. We talked about the ideas and how we get to a mindset that brings us positivity, that brings us gratitude, and that brings us abundance on a daily basis. Jen is smart, she is articulate, and she has a lot to say about empowering women and how to be completely acceptable of the mindset that holds us back. The interview was compelling. It is one of my absolute favorites, and it is my pleasure to once again introduce you to my friend, Jen Oliver. Jen Oliver, welcome back to the Entrepology Podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me, Meg.
Well, this is the first time I've ever done this. You are my first repeat guest. I'm so happy that you are back here, and so much has happened since you were on in our very early days and infancy. Can you just give us a little bit of a recap on what you are all about and then what's gone on in the last 18 months?
Oh, absolutely. Well, you know what? In the last 18 months, I have followed your podcast since I was last on, and I love it, Meg. So thank you so much for all that you're doing for so many. It is absolutely incredible listening to you. You are so inspiring.
Oh, you're sweet.
Jen Oliver, thank you. I am a core transformation coach. And right now I am a speaker, author, and a podcaster myself. So I'm the founder of FitMama Global, and I educate, inspire, and help transform busy women into loving fit mamas by restoring their core, igniting their passion, and designing their ideal reality. But what I'm most passionate about, Meg, is actually supporting new moms to love their bodies and love their lives. Why not, right?
Well, that's just that.
Exactly. So over the last 18 months, I think, we came back from our trip around the world with the girls, my husband and I, so that was a lot of fun. And I have since written and published my first book, The Love FitMama Way. So that has been something. I have absolutely loved the experience of not only writing the book. I mean, I've been researching the content that has gone into the book over the last, I'd say 10 to 15 years, plus obviously my life that I poured into it and all my experiences of my whole life. But it really was an experience, kind of putting it all in one place, all the research that I had and done and read and experienced over the last 15 years, in one place. It was such a fun experience. So that was what I've been spending most of my time doing, other than hanging with my kids who are now 5 and 6,
wow.
Which is awesome. I know, my baby turned 5 and it was like, oh my goodness, we are stepping into a different phase here. So I've been enjoying all the phases and just really enjoying the age that the kids are at. I know your girls are around the same age and they're so darn cute, aren't they?
I know, it is fun. Everyone says that every stage gets better and better, but it's kind of true. I like very, very little babies. And
yes.
And then there's I don't know, like a 14-month period where I'm like, ugh, it's a lot of work. And then it just it gets really interesting again.
I know. And we're reading and we're exploring things in a different way. And, it's just funny the things we get into. So I'm really enjoying that. And it's fun. It's a fun sort of balance, if I can even use that word, because it really, some days it's, all kids, and some days it seems like it's all work, but I do really enjoy the days that I'm having right now. And that's the best part about it, is that I'm just trying to enjoy the experience, because you know how fast it fleets on by, right? And we look back. And that's the big thing, is that Chris and I look at each other and we're like, it's been 2 years since we came back from our trip. And it flies, right? It flies.
So how do you get into this state of gratitude? Because you've always and I've known you since high school, which is what's so cool about this, but you've always been a tremendously positive person. Like your lens, we're all human, but like your lenses is never like, oh, this is a horrible thing. It's always positive. But in the depths of parenting in that first few years, when things are really hard, how do you stay so positive?
Well, I think the big thing is really choosing that idea that I'm going to look at this with that positive mindset. And that's the big thing, is that I mean, yes, you and I have known each other forever, which just is so fun. And I love watching you and experiencing everything that you do, because you're such a role model for me. But the one thing is that I look around at my life, and I have for so long now, that it truly is that I'm wearing these rose-colored glasses, because it's funny enough, my podcast that I recently did this week is all about what you focus on grows. And it's just that. I'm looking for things to be positive about. I'm looking for things to be grateful for truly all day long. And it's funny because I notice my mind, I'm an avid meditator, but I'm also really into mindfulness. And so I'm always kind of watching my own thoughts. And I think as a young person, that's what led me to study psychology and how the mind works, and how my mind works different than your mind works, and her mind and his. And I just love learning. And I think when you look at it through a lens where I'm just being open-minded, I'm being curious, I'm experiencing life, I'm not forcing what I think life should be like upon myself. I'm just choosing to feel good and experience and love the things that are already happening, and then more of those show up. And it's so funny because I've learned this stuff and read this stuff from, psychology texts to mindfulness to meditation texts to Dr. Wayne Dyer, who I've been reading forever, Eckhart Tolle, all these spiritual sort of seekers and teachers. But the thing is that it's true. We spend so much time in our head that the minute we can just get out of our head and just experience life for what it is through our senses, right? And the work you do is so important in that way, because you're helping people feel good, and people are coming to you with symptoms. They're coming to you with issues, and they just want to feel good. And so physically is one way that we can feel good. Absolutely. I know when my body feels good, I'm in a much better mindset. But actually, I don't know if we talked about this on the last podcast, Meg, about my back injury that I hurt myself when I was a new mom. And my baby was 1 at that time. So it's almost 4 years ago that I hurt my back. And when my physical body was in chronic, debilitating pain, where everything seemed like the biggest chore to get up off the couch, to pick up my baby when she fell over or whatever. I couldn't play on the ground with her after I hurt my back. It was too painful to sit on the floor. But it was one of those things where I went, oh, wow, I'm having a whole new perspective of what I can be grateful for today. Because you know what? Breathing hurts. And when my physical body is in so much pain, it gives, all of us, it gives us an opportunity to go, okay, well, if that one thing is taken away from me, what else can I find gratitude in? What else can I find to be positive about? Because our mind, God love our minds, and I love studying our brains, but it's really interesting because what they do is they want to keep us safe, and they want to look for danger and problems and scary things ahead, which is where we get a lot of our, monkey mind from. What are we worrying about? We're worrying about something that may never happen, right? We're worried about the past when we can't change it. And we spend so much time in that headspace. And that's now what I teach, and what I've really been practicing over really the last 15 to 20 years is just being in my body, feeling good, asking myself, okay, how do I feel right now? And if I'm not feeling the way I want to feel, I'm not going to sit there and complain about it. I mean, you are a good friend of mine, and we can complain, but it's not a kind of complaining that is commiserating and then we're just going to keep doing this every time we see each other. It's actually just going, hey, yeah, you know what? This is tough. Yeah, this is tough. What are we going to do about it? How can we elevate? And that's what I really, really find to be what I love about working online, being on the internet, having such a small world where we can be a part of a network of high vibe women and just be upping the game, really saying, you know what, we're just going to start being grateful and feeling good every day. And that's surely going to rub off on the people around us, right?
Absolutely. And you made such a good point about, you're just in your body and you're feeling what's happening in your body. Where do you start with women who go, yeah, I hang out in my head because my body is so uncomfortable. I don't like how it feels after having a baby. I don't like how it looks after having a baby. Like it's just sort of denial of everything below the shoulders. What do you start with?
Well, and again, it's funny because it always does come back to gratitude. And so that is where it's the appreciation. I like that it starts with an A because it's the first step. Start with A, and let's be appreciative, because even if our bodies don't look or work the way we want them to, and like I said, firsthand, when I hurt my back, I couldn't, actually, it's almost 4 years, and I can now bend over the sink to wash my face and brush my teeth without holding myself up with my other arm. And that was a really, really a big step for me. So I know for me, it's about appreciation. Yes, my body doesn't work the way I do, that I want it to right now, or that it could before when I could do gymnastics, back flips. But in this moment, can I find something to be appreciative of? Absolutely. I'm still breathing, and I have these opportunities that come to me all day to be with my kids, to snuggle with my kids. I don't need to be able to bend over the sink and wash my face. I can use a washcloth. Okay, moving on, right? Well, how can I do things and just be okay with them? Because actually, physically, we get so many postpartum injuries, ailments, discomforts, things that definitely are not working the way they were prior to having kids. And sometimes it's an unfortunate rude awakening for us. I know it was for me, and it's one of those things we don't always talk about is, the real physical, what actually happens, things like hemorrhoids or hemorrhaging or whatever, bleeding for weeks. And I actually talk about this with people. And recently I gave my book as a gift to a friend of mine, a longtime friend who was just about to have a baby. She was actually 5 days overdue when we met up, and I was giving her this book. And I just shared with her, the importance of the pelvic floor, the role of the pelvic floor, the role it has in your body, the changes that go on when you're pregnant, and how when you birth, things need to be rehabilitated. I gave her my stay flat for 5, which is one of my kind of quotes that I always tell women. It's stay flat on one level for 5 days. Don't take the stairs, don't run up and down, don't put the baby to bed, run down, go to the basement, up and down, because your pelvic floor absolutely needs to heal. If you can stay flat, which is on a flat surface, one floor, come down in the morning, then walk around on that floor or sit down and then get up and go back up to bed once per day maximum for the first 5 to 10 days, you will have almost 2 weeks less of bleeding minimum, I think. And it depends on everybody's different. But I really recommend people to go and see a pelvic floor physio to get really, really, really down and intimate with themselves. I talk a lot about postpartum sex and masturbation and really getting in physically with yourself so that you can feel again, because this disconnection, Meg, it really, it starts out like this little thing, it's just this, I'm not going to look down there. I'm not going to really feel down there. I'm going to disconnect from my core because my belly has rolls. I don't like it. These things that happen at a small level at the beginning, they start to become bigger and bigger. And we start to disassociate from our bodies in a way where we speak to them in a way we would never speak to someone we love. Right? I'm so ugly, or I'm fat, or look at these, right? What is that? What are you telling yourself in that moment? You're not respecting yourself, right? And there is an important piece to do with your health and especially your mindset when you are talking negatively or positively to yourself. So that's a huge pice.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I was walking back from dropping my kids off at school this morning, and I don't remember what went sideways, but I had to stop myself because I could feel myself getting angry. And I was like, I just don't want this energy in my cells. Like it's just not welcome. Like it has to go. It has to get discharged because I just don't want it here. And sometimes you just have to be conscious about these things. And I think that's what you're talking about is creating a consciousness around how you speak to yourself and what mindset you're putting yourself in, almost on a moment by moment basis.
Yes. And that's a huge piece of the Love FitMama Way. It's actually the entire third part of the book is all about enjoying your experience as a mom, enjoying your life. Because we're always looking to the future and past. We're always looking outside ourselves. What's he doing? What's she doing? What should I be doing? And we aren't really there with our bodies, with our feelings. And it's not even about, that's a big misconception, is that we have to, if we're angry like you were aware of it and you were going to work through it because you knew that it would have an effect on your cells. That's a rare awareness, and obviously why you do the work you do. But it's that awareness that can take you to that next level. And when you can be aware that these emotions are coming up, whether they're good or bad, and not even labeling them as good or bad, but just choosing to notice them and say, I'm getting angry, or I feel this shame or this resentment towards my partner, towards this friend. I'm feeling jealousy, or I'm feeling not worthy. Whatever they are, we are such a society that we don't want to feel that feeling. That feeling feels not good, and let me make everything attempted here so that I don't feel it. So I'm going to drink, I'm going to eat, I'm going to go on my phone, I'm going to yell at the kids, I'm going to hug my kids, whatever's going to make me not feel this feeling. And that is where, we get more disconnected, and we have that almost like that separation, me and my body. It's like, well, okay, why are these two separate things? You are your body, but that doesn't mean that it is you. That doesn't mean you are only your body either, right? That's a distinction.
So tell us, what is the Love FitMama Way?
The Love FitMama Way is flourishing. It's really about this 3-step process. The first one, which is all about embracing. It's a huge piece on that self-awareness about embracing where you are. Because me, I'm an athlete, and my no pain, no gain on the court mentality when I would dive for the ball and not care if my head smashed into the wall, it was amazing on the court and it got me far, but there isn't a place for that in pregnancy and postpartum, right? It's really a time to listen to your body. It's a time to respect your body, honor its needs, take a nap when you need a nap, not push yourself to go out running or something. It's really, really important. And I unfortunately had to learn some of these things through my own back injury. But it really is, that second step is all about nurturing. So it's about nurturing you now, not nurturing the you that you thought you had this great body and you would love it then, but if it's gained weight, you're now not going to honor it in that same way. It's really that self-care piece. And then the third step is all about enjoying, as I mentioned. So it's really that self-love piece that I talk about. So I talk a lot about the heart because there's a lot of evidence out there in the literature that shares the heart coherence. I don't know if you're familiar. I'm sure you know HeartMath, the HeartMath Institute. They do a lot of work on heart coherence. And this is actually the vibration and the electromagnetic field that emanates from the heart. And this is why I talk so much about love. And this is why it's not just about the physical and the fitness and the mindset and all that stuff, because that stuff is important. But it's really just one piece, because it really all comes down to what I call the heart and the core. And the book is called The Love FitMama Way, Transforming the Core of Motherhood. And it's really just an awareness piece. It's like the Tao, the new way of being, of this more present, more aware, giving yourself permission to just have a nap, go to yoga instead of bust yourself at the gym, or go bust yourself in the gym instead of sleep through your alarm when you know that is or isn't the best thing for you. So it's really, it's a new way of being, Meg. And it's like, this is kind of like my, quote unquote, new Bible for new moms, because there isn't a lot about what I write about in here all in one place. I mean, I talk a lot about the nervous system because we, as new moms, I mean, our nervous systems are at their absolute max capacity when we think about being in fight or flight after we have a new baby or when we're pregnant, right? If any little thing were to happen, we're in top-notch freak out mode, right?
Totally.
Our nervous systems are at the absolute brink. When we're going through the process of being pregnant, postpartum, having a new baby, there are so many elements of fear that come into play. And in the book, I talk about, my fears around giving birth and how I never even wanted to read any of these books or look at any videos or do anything about the birthing process. I was really, truly in some kind of denial, even though I had a growing belly, that I was going to have to push this thing out, right? I was like, what the heck? How am I going to do that, right? I was in panic mode. And I talk in the book how I did EFT, also known as emotional freedom technique, or tapping. And tapping really taps into that fear response that we have, and it calms the nervous system. It gets into that place in the brain, the amygdala, which is actually in charge of our fear response, and it really calms it. And it really allows you to just have that opening, open your mind, open your body, open to being curious as to how something might go, instead of fearing the worst and clenching, which is what our bodies do when we're in that fear place.
Which is the worst thing to do in labor.
Mm-hmm. And I was very fortunate because I came across all this stuff, and I had been reading a lot of this stuff for years, and no one had really put it all together for me in the way of my own birth and my pregnancy experience. I talk about my doula. She was a huge influence on me. And I talk about my personal experience, which was I was very relaxed. I was very calm. I was very open and excited and curious, and just couldn't wait to hear my birth story. It was like, I just couldn't wait to just go, what is it going to be like, right? So I just opened my mind, and I ended up having very, very calm, relaxing, quick births that, I really just felt good the whole time. So I was ready to change the conversation around the fear, around people saying, well, I don't want to gain weight, so I don't want to get pregnant, or I don't want this to happen, or I'm scared of this, so I'm, maybe not going to have kids, or if I'm in it, I'm just going to lament all the time how this sucks, right? Which I don't accept.
Yeah. And that's just it. Sometimes you just have to not accept it.
Yeah.
You just need to have a new standard. I want to make sure that as we're having this conversation, that what doesn't happen for people is they go, well, that's great for that type of person, but it doesn't apply to me. And what I'm thinking with that is I feel like the social media world has done this to us, right? We're like, oh, look at that. But in particular, I think there are new moms who, and we do that. It doesn't matter we're talking about new moms or we're talking about people who are in my office and we're challenging them to look at new lifestyle choices. It's always easy, sometimes when you're not ready, to say that advice applies to someone else. It applies to the mom who is the stay-at-home mom. It applies to the family with a household income over $100,000. It applies to, there's always another subset of the population that has the privilege of looking at their life this way, but not me, because I'm a single mom or my partner's away on business or. How do we make this conversation about everybody and accessible to everybody?
I love that, because I absolutely agree with you on that. It's natural to create those, and I say create because those are created by our own minds, that we have these walls that we put up, right? So, I'm a single mom. I don't have the support. I don't have the means. I don't have this, that, or the other. It really is a choice that we can each make. It does not, thankfully, cost any money to do most of the things that I recommend. The 7 pillars of FitMama foundations that I teach, those have really nothing to do with your income. And listening to your podcast and listening to mine is free. So, there are so many things that do not cost money, but it is a personal choice for someone to say, yes, I am going to step up to my life. And I think that's a big choice. And it's a scary choice, because you know what? When you step up to showing up in your own life, it really happens such that everything will come up and say, hey, yeah, you sure? Okay, let's get you sick. Okay, let's have you lose your job. Okay, let's have even more things happen to you, so that when you thought you were ready to step up, I'm just going to show you got to really work for it. You got to really want it. Right? And that happens. But the thing is that we have to, and I don't like to tell people all the time what they have to do, but I'm saying from my perspective and for me, I know for me, I had to decide that I was going to choose how I wanted to feel every day. Because we can choose to feel stuck. We can choose to feel that we don't have the support, solutions, whatever. But at the end of the day, it really does all start from in our mind and our heart and in the core of us. And I think it comes to that place where, when people aren't ready to make a change, as good as I do, as well as I do, that people aren't going to make a change, right? They don't see the reason why. They don't feel good enough for whatever the reason. They're not going to do it. Actually, when they start to just decide that they are worth it, that's when things happen. It's not even that they have to know the plan. It's just that they have to listen into their own body and know that they're worth it and get out of their head. I'm sure you see people just so stuck in their heads, and it doesn't help them, right? They create these excuses.
Yeah, and you said at the beginning, where you set your intent is where your energy is going to flow. So if you're constantly in that state of, I don't have enough money for this, I don't have time for this, I don't have the support systems for this, then you're probably right. Like that's what's
going to show up for sure. Absolutely.
Yes, I had this whole other line of questioning that I wanted to go down, but I actually first want to circle back to something that you talked about, because it kind of got integrated in what you were saying, but I think it's sort of an important concept that I want to start to explore a little bit. And that was this notion of heart coherence and heart rate variability, because I think this is a concept that is actually worth pulling out. And it's, so it's so funny you brought this up, because I know HeartMath and I use it in my practice. And I was at the Bulletproof conference last year, which is this biohacking conference, for those of you who don't know. And there was a Kickstarter campaign booth there. And one of the things was this heart rate variability monitor that you attach to, like, you put these little electrode things on and you wear it for 8 weeks. And I was like, this is a really cool device. And there's a physician mode, so I could get all of your readings for 8 weeks. We get a really good sense of the tonification of your central nervous system. Anyway, I randomly went into my office on Wednesday and it was there. So I'm super stoked. I'm going to tell you all about it. And I'll tell everyone who's listening about my journey with my new Lief. But it monitors heart rate variability like 24 hours a day. And you could chart it against other things that are going on in your world. So it's really interesting. And I want to start to explore this more with my patients, but maybe what you can do is explain to everybody a little bit more about what heart coherence is and what heart rate variability is, because it's different than just measuring your heart rate.
Yes. And that's a great question, because the thing that is interesting, heart rate variability, we look at heart rate and what is my resting heart rate or what is my working heart rate, 90% of your heart rate, et cetera, when we're exercising. And I see a lot of that in, when I was in the fitness industry, people looking to get into these heart rate zones. And now the interesting thing is that what the science has seen is that it's that variability. So it really is, our heart goes lub-dub, lub-dub, and it's this natural beat that goes in and out, right? Systolic, diastolic, etc. Without getting into too much detail, the heart health, the health of your heart, the better it is better, the better your heart rate variability. When it can go up and down, return to normal quickly after exercise per se, right? That's a sign of a healthy heart. And when it comes to our heart, we think of it solely as a muscle in our body in a very physical sense. But like I said earlier about the heart coherence, they have found that the EMF or electromagnetic field of your heart is about 6,000 times stronger than that of your brain. And our brain EMF is pretty strong. And we can test these with different EMGs or EKGs or whatever, but it's really interesting to actually note the relationship between our heart physically and our emotional body and our emotional heart. And that's where the science really, really is interesting to me at HeartMath, is this natural connection between the mind and the body. And we can actually live more of our life from our heart coherence, which emanates this strong magnetic field into our environment of love. And that is actually connected to our physical heart. So this is so interesting. I mean, I could read about this and talk about this for like months and years. And I have been, and I'm so curious. And every day there is more interesting stuff about it. What I specifically teach around it is for people to understand this connection, that if they can concentrate their mind and body energy on the physical heart space. So, our heart is located in the left side of our body. If we can focus even just by putting our hands over our heart, we can start to get into that heart space, I call it. So without using, heart coherence, I even just talk about heart space. And covering your hands on your chest connects you with your heart, which is naturally going to raise your vibration. And, when it comes to physics itself, we are all just moving particles when you really look at everything under a microscope, right, Meg? And it's so interesting that we have these physical matter, like the table, and then we have this electromagnetic field that is really still just wavelengths and vibration of cells bumping up against each other in different ways. And we can create this environment around us that is like a bubble of love. We can become a bubble of love and bop around our world, living in that heart space, living where, like we had what I was saying earlier with those rose-colored glasses, right? And that is a practice. It's just like a meditation. It's like anything else that you can practice and get better at. You can connect more into your heart space through mental visualization, through physical breathing, as well as different physical visualizations in that heart space. So there's a lot to it. Does that kind of answer your question to start, Meg?
Yeah, and it's amazing. What I love about this concept and giving people biofeedback around this, which is what the HeartMath device does, or this new Lief Therapeutics device does, is that we are really attributing science and measurable objective data with this notion of positivity and love and mindset and stuff that traditionally we're like, there's something flighty about that. And we're finding this beautiful combination, which is why if you go to the HeartMath site, and we'll make sure this is in the show notes, if you go to the HeartMath site, like right across the front are all of these citations and references and access points to research being done between the HeartMath Institute and Harvard and the HeartMath Institute and MIT and some of the most reputable scientific institutions in the world are looking at this connection for us to have a greater understanding. Because we see it in real life all the time. When you put your mindset there, you get really incredible outcomes. And now what we're doing is we're collecting physiological data sets that help support that state. This is cool stuff, and it diminishes the excuses. Sorry, I'm totally taking over your podcast, Jen. It diminishes the excuses of people who are like, that's not my thing. I like science, right?
Yes.
It's calling that out in such a beautiful and positive way. I agree with you. We could talk about this all day.
I know. Well, and I connect it back to our connection with our self-love. And physically we shut down. And even if it's an emotional shutdown, it ends up hardening our heart. We physically can harden our own heart. And that's where it's really compelling to me, because I'm so always interested in helping people live a better life and feel good, moment to moment. And I'm still noticing this kind of evidence in myself in the physical ways that I always could feel that there were things that shut me down or opened me up. And now I can actually see how these are happening. So that Lief, I'm so into it. And I was reading about that too. And I just love that exists, because it's the same as the meditation and then adding the Muse into it, right?
Yeah.
And we all have the Muse, the brain sensing headband. And it's amazing because I was meditating all the time. And, I had no idea whether my brain was really in that relaxed space or, calm, or still in that high beta wave. Oh my God, I'm thinking about today, tomorrow, the future, my to-do list, my kids, et cetera, et cetera. And it's amazing getting that feedback. So that is so cool. I know I love wearable technology and the way science is going to inform us that we can actually learn from and then choose different behaviors, because it empowers us. We like to know why and how and what to make our behavior change, right?
Absolutely. And it supports the three-dimensionality of life. And I had a patient this week who was talking about her hypertension. And she's like, I don't understand why I'm still hypertensive. I'm eating everything I'm supposed to eat. And she was I think she was actually kind of angry about it and visibly frustrated. And it's difficult. The next piece is always a difficult conversation. But, when we're talking about hypertension, yeah, sure, you can go to the gym a few times a week. And yes, you can eat a predominantly plant-based diet. But that last piece, or maybe 90% of that piece, means that you are actively working on forgiveness. You are continuously focusing on mindset. You are engaged in an ongoing process of gratitude. You can't address high blood pressure unless you have a practice that supports all of those other mechanisms. Science says that, psychologists say that.
Exactly.
Like it's just so I mean, you're speaking to that as well. This is the side of health and progress, personal progress that we all aspire towards. This is frankly where the work is.
Well, exactly. Because you know what? The thing is that we don't realize until we become aware of our, so-called monkey mind while it's bopping all over, worrying and anxiety and all this, is that once we become aware of that and we go, oh my gosh, okay, this is just a thought in my head. And if I don't think that thought, wow, I really feel good, right? It's you can just opt out, and it's like, whoa, that's empowering. And the minute you realize, we spend so much time, and that's one of the reasons that I personally had gotten away from nutrition and prescription of any type around what to eat, what to do, because even though I'm talking about Fit Mama and you think it encompasses those things, and food and fitness, of course, are important, it really is interesting that it's almost too much to focus on for people. And we don't need to focus on every, macronutrient and gram of this or that or the other, because when we're doing that, we're actually getting out of our body again. And if we did a prescription that was so much easier than this plant-based diet or paleo or a AIP or whatever, it doesn't even matter. It matters most if you are just getting out of your headspace into your heart space. And like you said, starting to forgive, starting to opt out of blaming others and just starting to take responsibility. And if we were giving things like a prescription of gratitude for every single day, that is where huge value can come back. And I'm not saying, the nutrition is not valuable, because absolutely it is, and we all know that, but it's more emphasis is needing to come. And now that the science is catching up, it's because it's saying yes to that, because we don't have to sit there and read another nutrition article that says, well, that superfood is not that super this week. And, it makes people so paralyzed when we know the literature is out there that being in a positive mindset, forgiving people, being in appreciation and gratitude, and all of those things, if you're doing those, you can't be thinking about how bad your day is going, because you're just appreciating. So it actually just replaces, instead of making you create this whole other job for yourself.
Yeah, I love these concepts, and the energy and ease and the process that you have around explaining them and integrating them for people. I want to talk a little bit about your business, because what is so obvious, well, I already follow you, but what would be so obvious to me if I was listening to this is, oh gosh, like where do I find more about what Jen Oliver's up to and engage with her energy? And so, but behind that energy, you have built an entire business. You've published a book in the last year. You have a very significant online following. Can you, because we have so many entrepreneurs on this podcast and in our audience, can you talk a little bit about your actual business model? Because you're the perfect example of someone who's found their passion. They're living their dream. Like, what you see is what you get. And this is sort of the holy grail for so many lifestyle entrepreneurs.
Yes, absolutely. I love talking about this. And the biggest thing that I truly can say about my business, and what has been my favorite part about it, and probably the most successful part about it, is that I love building relationships and connecting with people. And I still remember the first time I checked my email, while I was in a lineup, and I could do that on my BlackBerry, and I was free. I could be anywhere, connecting with people anywhere, anytime, even if I was standing at the bank and the lady in front of me didn't want to talk, because I love to chat. But I also am very much a good listener, and I do really learn and listen and get so much from working with clients. That is really what keeps me going, is working with the Fit Mamas. I do have private clients, which I've had to slow down now because I'm doing so much with my book. But I love, love, love connecting with the clients that I do have. And I also have been bringing more friends and Fit Mamas into the Fit Mama Foundations program that I created, which is more of a group coaching program, because it really is about connecting and getting plugged in. That's why I created my Fit Mama podcast, was because this mindset, this heart set, I like to call it, is really about, staying with it, staying in that high vibe place, because we all know that energy we have when we are starting a new program, or we have a new coach or a new teacher, or we're starting a new class, or we're joined a new thing, or started a new diet, or whatever gets us excited. That feeling is what I call maintaining the magic. We want to maintain the magic of that feeling. And that's what I really am here for, with my social media posts, with my, online offerings, with my programs, with the Zoom calls that I run and the interviews I run with amazing people around the world. It's about plugging in to that high vibration, to that high frequency life where it's not about excuses. It's about taking responsibility and going for what you want, unapologetically being you. And that's really what I live and what I love to do, and holding others to that. And it's always just about having role models. My clients are my role models, and it's a vice versa thing. They look up to me and I look up to them, because we have so much to learn from each other. And that's what really, is my biggest passion in my business. So thankfully, I have a great team that I work with. I have a virtual assistant who does a lot of stuff for me. I spend my time with my kids. Other than that, when I'm doing my work, it's during the day, and I do really outsource a lot of stuff that I can. One of the biggest pieces that I love to do on my own is my social media. connecting in my group specifically, because it's those relationships and connecting and constantly asking and answering people's questions so that we can all learn from each other, because that sharing is really where that next level goes. And that's what I love about, the people that I follow online, people like you that are bringing that high vibe out there and setting those new standards, like you said. And I mean, I love the podcast that you had done on the business of becoming with Lori. That was a great one.
Oh, that was so fun.
That was so inspiring. And it's women like you guys that inspire me and, allow me to then inspire more people. And it's really this giving cycle. And that's what I love about the online space, especially in the health and wellness, because we are all really there to share the same message of feeling good, of being healthy, and what that means to you. It doesn't have to be this one gold standard. It's just all of us understanding that everybody's life is different, and it's about accepting ourselves. And then there's no place from where we can judge others, so we don't have to.
Yeah, no, I totally love that. And I agree. And I think what we've both done is we've just cultivated a community that reinforces the attitude we want to bring to the world.
Exactly. Yes.
I feel like we could make this a marathon podcast episode, which I think we should just do that for charity someday, which is like, how long can we get a group of women talking and turn it into a podcast? Okay, I'll write that down later. Let's look at that. Each month, I'm featuring a new Entrepology quiz to help you unlock and uncover some of the physical performance blocks that may be holding you back from your true potential. When you know better, you can do better. To learn more or to take the quiz, head on over to meganwalker.com/Entrepology quiz. In the meantime, because we're not going to do that to people today, I want to get a little bit of a sense of how you live your life on the background of everything else that you have going on. And so I've taken you through some of these questions before, and some of them have shifted. But in the last portion of the interview, I want to look at our KPIs, or key performance indicators. So these are questions that and metrics that really give us insight into a business or into someone's personal health. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Take us through your morning routine. I'm not even going to ask if you have one, because I already know you do.
Yes, I do. And, I have been a little more relaxed with my morning routine than since we last spoke, mostly because it just feels good. And I love switching things up. I'm a bit of a rebel like that. So I go in phases. And I do one thing for a while, but with no fail, every morning I roll myself out of bed. I do a meditation practice and a breathing practice, because those are really two of the cornerstones for me that really allow me to kind of anchor in for the day, and then everything starts from there. And, you know how the day goes when you have a full schedule on the docket and you're getting kids out and this and that. But I am very fortunate to have a very supportive husband. So he loves to wake up early, and he does a lot with the girls in the morning. So it's great. So I usually wake up, do my breathing. I go into my hot room and I spend as much as an hour or 2 hours in and I call it a hot room. It's literally a glorified closet with a heater and my salt rock lamp and a diffuser and some Christmas lights, because I love the mood that they bring. And I sit here and I just chill. I meditate. Sometimes I journal, I write, I relax. And I just, I love it. That just sets me up for a good day.
Well, and it makes you excited for the morning, right? When you've got that thing. Yeah. It doesn't have to be 5 cups of coffee that has you getting out of bed. It could be something really amazing. Fiction or nonfiction? What are you reading right now?
Oh, nonfiction. You know what? I got to admit something. I don't know if I've ever read a fiction. I seriously only read nonfiction. And that's always on the goals list. But right now, I'm actually reading a book that I am loving. It brings me back. I found her about 10 years ago, probably maybe more like 15 years ago. Her name is Byron Katie. Are you familiar with Byron Katie?
Yeah, I am.
She is beautiful. Her book, A Mind at Home with Itself. This is a lot. The work she does is called The Work, and it really is about bringing more of that non-attachment and just peace and joy in every moment of every day. And I love reading stuff like that. So things like her book or Eckhart Tolle or Deepak Chopra or, so some of these authors I could read over and over. And I unfortunately just don't find a desire to read a fiction. So that's me.
I know. Well, there's just so much nonfiction to read that's so engaging. Much. It's hard to pull away from it.
Stuff. I know.
What is the one thing you're most consistent with respect to your health?
Breathing is the one thing I will do. And I know I've done this for so long now that it's become so automatic. But the minute anything starts to kind of rile me up, or I feel agitated, or I feel nervous, it will be like, now it's a reflex that I will be, take a big, deep breath in and just start to kind of sigh it out. That is a natural thing I will do many times in the day, but every single day I take time to actually do a concentrated breathing practice. And it is just, honestly, I can say, I created this quote unquote, abs are made on the cushion, because I'm sure you've heard abs are made in the kitchen, which is sort of a play on the fact that, we think we build abs in the gym, but really abs are made in the kitchen because it really matters how much you eat and all those other things that you put into your mouth that make or break the abs that you see. Well, I've taken this one step further to say abs are made on the cushion, because I truly, truly believe that when you sit quietly, it could be on a cushion or a chair or wherever in your bed, if you take this time every single day just to breathe, you feel good. Like, you just feel relaxed. You feel at home in your body. You calm your nervous system. You can do concentrated breathing that gets you into your diaphragm or deep core, whatever. But really, it is the one thing that it's been about 10 years, but in the last 5 years, especially since I've really focused on the deep core and rehabilitation, breathing is that one piece of the puzzle that makes everything fit. It's like the last piece, you put that down and the puzzle is done. Yep.
I love it. What is something totally badass about you that people would not otherwise know?
Ooh, well, I surf. Hello.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Last time I talked to you, I never was really into going in the water. Even though I'm Pisces, I'm like, nah, I'm not really a fish person. But I honestly broke through. Here I am. I realized I love open water. I love surfing. I figured it out when I was in Hawaii. I just wanted to try it to test my back and say, yeah, I could do it. I wasn't in fear anymore. Mm-hmm. And it cracked something open in me that I was like, this is my thing. So I can't wait to go again.
I love it. What do you do for fun or play besides surf?
Well, you know what? Oh gosh, what do I do for fun and play with the kids? Honestly, it's always about the kids. The park is our number one thing. We live in a condo and we have a big open space. We call the gym upstairs, and we bring stuff, or we go out to the park, we go out walking, we walk to school every day. Being active is a hugest thing for me. And for me, play is just being with the girls and doing what they do. And that is far more play than I even need, especially when it involves Barbies.
And last question for you, entrepreneurism. Are we born this way, or do we learn to become entrepreneurs?
I think we can learn anything personally. So I really, really think we can learn, but it is a huge mindset piece. And if you're open to learning the mindset that I believe is required, and it is maybe a bit more of a risky behavior mindset, or a life is too short, YOLO, you only live once, or some mindset around that, I really feel that can be learned, but you do have to throw that scarcity mindset and the fear of failure out the window.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Scarcity gone, fear managed. Jen, as always, it is such a pleasure to chat with you. We're going to link everyone up in the show notes, but where can people go to find out more about what you're up to?
You can find me on the FitMama podcast, located everywhere, and on jenoliver.com. You will find everything.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here. So much fun.
Thank you. You're amazing. Thank you for everything you do, Meg.
If you enjoyed our conversation and would like to hear more, head on over to Stitcher or iTunes and subscribe to the Entrepology Podcast. We would also really appreciate a quick review. When people have their health, they can change the world. Let us keep you healthy and you go change the world.